And even after you're saved, I mean, I look back now and see all the stuff he was trying to tell me when I was in the middle of all that, and I'm like, man. Now I see it clearly. Yeah. Right? Back then I didn't see it so clearly. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah, if you want to love God, see, we live in a world that defines everything by what you do.
Yeah.
We define loving by what you do. We define everything by what you do. Success by what you do, what you get, what you have. We define everything by what you do. But that's not how God would define loving him. You know how God would define loving him? Calling him Abba and running into his arms in any situation. Whether you just were the worst chief sinner of them all, or whether you had gotten it right. That's how you would love God. Abba. Jesus was loving God when he, on the cross, said, Father, into your hands I commit my life. He ran into the arms of God in the place of seeing the greatest evil that could ever exist manifesting in him. Cursed is the man who hangs on a tree, the scriptures say. He became the manifestation, the fullness of the curse life on that tree. The fullness of death manifested in him on that tree. The fullness of sin manifested in his body on that tree. And he said, Father. He called God Father and he ran into his arms, even in that place. That's what it means to love God. You don't love God by what you do, man. You love God by your heart calling him Father. And he don't even leave you to figure that out on your own. He's poured his Spirit out on all flesh to convince you that he's your Father. He even comes and helps you out. He comes and reveals himself in you. He comes and says, you see me, man? Let me show you a mirror. You see how we look the same? I see it. Do you see it? That's why it says we behold ourselves in the face of Jesus as if we were looking in a mirror. And so he comes and shows us how we're not orphans, how we look just like him, how he sees himself in us. And he does that through his Spirit. His Spirit comes and tells us, man, God isn't just like some ethereal being or some great energy up in the sky that we've all come from. He's Father.
Yes.
And he sees himself in you. Then that's when you begin seeing yourself in him. Then your heart starts saying, Father, no matter where you're at. Because to know God as Father is to know that even should this flesh be rotting away from my bones, even should this body be filled with the fullness of the fruit of death, that guy wants me. Abba. That guy's not ashamed of me. That guy is drawing near to me. He's not pulling away. He's not like, what are people going to think of me if I'm with them? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you ever experience that where, you know, the people spread away from you because they don't want to be seen with you because you look that reprehensible?
Yeah.
Well, we think that's how God is sometimes, right? We see this in us, and we think that God is like slowly inching away from, no, I'm not with them. We think that God is Peter.
Yeah.
When they said, aren't you one of his disciples? Haven't you been with him? No.
Nope.
See, that's how we think God is. When we find the fruit of death manifesting in us, when we find the works of the flesh manifesting in us, we think God is like, oh man, he's ashamed to be seen with us. None. That's when God comes and puts his arm around us and says, I'm with them. And they're with me. Right?
That's huge.
That's what Jesus came and did. The people that the religious leaders said were the rejected and despised of God, that God was ashamed of them, Jesus went and hung out with them. He ate with them, which is a big deal in the Jewish culture. Mm-hmm. I mean, even Peter wouldn't eat with the Gentiles after Christ was even raised from the dead because he was worried about what the Jews were going to say about him. And that's what Paul chastised him about. He said, what are you doing, dude? In Galatians.
What I make clean, let no man say is unclean.
Yes. And so, we have this just jacked up image of God, but God comes and persuades our hearts that in that place where we think, oh, wretched person that I am, I'm the chief of all sinners, I'm the most miserable, disgusting failure. Who could ever look away from me? I'm hideous. God is right there looking directly at us. He sees through us into the depths of our souls, and he shines in adoration. Right? He knows you perfectly. And he likes what he sees.
Yeah.
You can't hide something from God, right? I mean, seriously, church has become how we all try to cover up our biggest faults so that everybody else can think we're okay. God knows us perfectly. He sees all the spots and blemishes that we call spots and blemishes. He doesn't call them spots and blemishes because he doesn't connect who we are with those things.
Boom.
And so he knows us perfectly, and he likes what he sees. And if there is such a thing as God being filled with pride, it would be in him being proud to call you his and to stand next to you wherever you're at.
Yeah.
If you can understand what I'm saying there about God being full of pride.